Something is not adding up inside the walls of Buckingham Palace, and royal insiders say the silence may be louder than any official statement. In recent days, whispers have grown into urgent murmurs about a future king, a reigning monarch, and a princess who has seemingly vanished from public view. And as the pressure mounts, many are asking a question no one inside the palace wants to answer out loud. Is the royal family facing one of its most dangerous internal fractures yet? Welcome to Royal Report 24/7, where we follow every development, every signal, and every silence. And if you want to stay ahead of the stories the palace won't explain, quietly joining our growing community by subscribing, liking, and sharing ensures you never miss what unfolds next. Because tonight's story is far from over. Reports circulating among royal correspondents suggest that Prince William is increasingly at odds with King Charles. Not over policy, not over duty, but over something far more personal. Sources close to palace operations claim tensions are rising behind closed doors as concerns swirl around Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose prolonged absence from public life has become impossible to ignore. Officially, the narrative remains calm, routine, controlled, but insiders say the reality inside royal residences is anything but. According to longtime observers, Prince William has always been fiercely protective of his wife, more so than previous heirs in modern history. Those who know the couple describe William as deeply private when it comes to Catherine's well-being, yet uncharacteristically firm when boundaries are crossed. And now, insiders claim those boundaries may be at the center of a growing rift with his father, the king. Sources speaking to royal journalists suggest William believes the palace's handling of Catherine's absence, particularly the lack of transparency, is doing more harm than good. He is said to fear that silence invites speculation, fuels misinformation, and places unnecessary strain on his family. But King Charles, insiders say, sees things differently. According to claims from those familiar with palace strategy, the king favors restraint, tradition, and controlled messaging, believing that too much disclosure could create long-term instability. To Charles, the monarchy survives on continuity and calm. To William, sources say silence feels like abandonment. And somewhere between those two positions, Catherine remains unseen. The mystery surrounding her absence has sparked widespread speculation across media platforms, with theories ranging from health concerns to internal disagreements over public roles. No verified explanation has satisfied the public, and that vacuum has only intensified pressure within the royal family itself. Royal insiders claim that behind the scenes, William has grown increasingly frustrated with what he perceives as delays and deflections. Some sources even suggest that recent meetings between father and son have been described as strained, with conversations reportedly ending unresolved. This wouldn't be the first time the monarchy faced generational tension. History tells us that transitions of power are rarely smooth. Queen Elizabeth II herself experienced internal disagreements with Prince Charles during his long wait as heir. What makes this moment different, insiders say, is the emotional weight. Catherine is not just a royal asset. She is the future queen consort and the stabilizing figure many believe holds public trust together. Royal commentators note that Catherine's popularity has consistently surpassed that of most senior royals. Her absence is not merely noticeable, it is destabilizing. And that brings us to another layer of complexity insiders claim is quietly influencing this crisis: Meghan. While Meghan remains physically distant from royal life, sources suggest her past clashes with palace control loom large in current decision-making. Some insiders believe King Charles is determined not to repeat what he views as mistakes made during the Sussex era, namely, allowing emotion to dictate messaging. William, however, reportedly sees a different lesson. According to commentators close to the Prince of Wales, William believes that silence and rigidity during the Meghan years contributed to public mistrust, and that repeating that approach now could be disastrous. This difference in interpretation, insiders say, is driving a wedge deeper between father and son. Royal aides are said to be walking a delicate line, attempting to maintain unity while managing competing visions for the monarchy's future. Some reports claim that staff loyal to William are increasingly assertive, pushing for clarity and proactive communication. Meanwhile, traditionalists aligned with the king reportedly urge patience and discretion. The result? A palace locked in quiet tension. And then there's Catherine herself. Royal watchers point out that her absence has not followed typical patterns of royal downtime. No gradual return, no staged appearances, no carefully released photographs that usually accompany reassurance campaigns. Instead, there has been stillness. Insiders emphasize that this does not confirm any single narrative, but they agree the lack of visibility is unusual. Speculation has been further fueled by William's own behavior. Observers note subtle changes, a more guarded demeanor, a sharper tone during engagements, and a noticeable reduction in personal warmth during recent appearances. Those close to him say this reflects pressure, not defiance. According to one royal source quoted by commentators, William feels caught between protecting his wife and respecting the institution that raised him. That internal conflict, insiders claim, is becoming increasingly difficult to contain. King Charles, meanwhile, faces pressures of his own. As a monarch still early in his reign, Charles is navigating public expectations, health concerns, and the long shadow of his mother's legacy. Royal analysts say he is acutely aware that any misstep now could define his reign, and that may explain his caution. Yet caution, critics argue, may be misread as detachment. And this is where speculation grows most intense. Some insiders suggest that William is pushing for a recalibration of royal communication, one that prioritizes empathy over protocol. Others claim Charles fears such a shift could weaken the monarchy's mystique and authority. Neither side is said to be backing down. As this internal standoff continues, public curiosity intensifies. Social media buzzes. Headlines speculate. And the longer Catherine remains unseen, the louder the questions become. Royal historians warn that unresolved internal conflicts often surface externally, not through statements, but through leaks, missed engagements, and subtle changes in behavior. Many believe we may already be witnessing the early signs. So what happens next? Insiders suggest several possibilities. A carefully timed reappearance, a formal update framed as reassurance, or, most concerning to traditionalists, continued silence. Each option carries risks. A sudden return could spark questions about why the absence was prolonged. An official update could invite scrutiny. Silence, however, risks allowing speculation to define the narrative entirely. And at the center of it all stands Prince William, future king, husband, father, reportedly determined not to repeat what he sees as past failures of royal leadership. Whether this moment becomes a turning point or a fracture remains unclear. But one thing is certain. The monarchy is not as united as it appears. As royal insiders continue to speak in careful tones and palace corridors remain hushed, the world waits, watching for a signal, a sign, or a shift. Because when a princess disappears from public life and a future king begins to push back, history tells us something is changing. Here at Royal Report 24/7, we'll continue following every development, every report, and every whisper as this story unfolds. And if you want to stay with us as the mystery deepens, quietly supporting the channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing ensures you're always part of the conversation before the palace is ready to speak. For now, the silence continues. And sometimes, silence is the most revealing headline of all.